Last on set, Eric. Last on set.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Virtual Trek Con with Sirach Lofton.
Hello, hello.
We are joined by two very special guests, Mr. Eric Pierpoint and Gary Graham, both of Alien Nation, both of Enterprise, both of Voyager. And Eric has also done an episode of Deep Space Nine and
TNG.
Yep, Next Generation.
Look,
and we are also joined by a very special guest host and resident Alien Nation expert, Miss Stephanie K of Lambda Quadrant. How's everybody doing? And first of all, you guys obviously had some kind of inside joke there about first on set or last on set.
Well, come on.
Very, very intuitive. Very, very, very insightful.
There's
Eric and
nothing inside about it. It's just well known.
Yeah, I don't remember how it started. Do you, Eric?
I remember I was there hours before you. Okay.
Well, you had to put makeup on.
In the chair to get into makeup. My call time was normally 3:45, 3:30, somewhere around there. I'd be through my, coffee, breakfast, whatever, in the middle of headness. And Gary'd come in and sort of shake his head in the mirror and they'd, okay, he's done.
I pay more. Yeah.
But you did actually get into some serious special effects with the ears, I have to say.
Well, you laugh, but that was like a 2.5 hour job. Just that it was a wig and the ears and the eyebrows, all prosthetics, and so I did come to appreciate somewhat the agony you went through. But
you didn't lose it or anything, did you?
I didn't have this, Eric. I didn't have this sensation.
Yeah.
Which was, if you could put your hands over your ears and try to talk right now, it'll drive you crazy. It's like having bees live inside your head.
Yeah.
And a few weeks working with Eric with bees living inside his head, it was not a pleasant experience. I had to take a walk. We had to walk him out into the parking lot and just calm him down. And you're connected to the universe and a long silver umbilical cord. It's going to be all right.
Yeah. If I use the royal we did lose it a few times.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
That actually does lead. Sorry.
Build and build until bang, and then I would blow it off, and then Gary would walk me around a little bit, and we'd be ready to shoot again. So.
But I do have a question in regards to that because you played a Klingon on an episode of Voyager. So which was worse?
Exactly.
The Tanktonese or the Klingon?
So the story that I have about doing the Klingon was I was back east at I think Shore Leave or one of these conventions, and I had shot pretty late into Friday night, so I spent the weekend in Baltimore. I think had to get on a plane to then get into Klingon makeup. The plane was late. I ended up going straight from the airport to the set, 2:30 in the morning. It took forever to put me back in the makeup. And we shot for 24 hours because we had to shoot that episode out because they were back-ended against the previous episode. So that went on and on and on. And we were also shooting on a poor man's process on a barge. So the barge was doing this. And I'm doing that all that time. And I get pulled over on the freeway on the 101 coming home for weaving. So they gave me a drunk test, and they said, "You've been drinking?" And I said, "No, I've been a Klingon."
And they said, "All right, you're coming with us."
Right. The guy was a really nice guy, and I was still in my, they give you in Star Trek this black T-shirt, and it's got like makeup hanging off of it, and you're a mess, and so I still had that. And he asked me if I knew my way back to my ship. So I made it home, but that was quite an experience. But yeah,
24-hour workday, huh?
Yeah, it was nuts. It just went on and on and on. I've never seen anything quite like that before. We had some hours on Alien Nation for sure, but this one was one of those emergencies. Gary, I don't know if you remember a director, Mike Vehar. Do you remember him?
No,
he probably directed you in something at some point.
Mike, now what show was it? What
that
was
was
Star Trek or Alien Nation?
I guess what was that, Voyager?
Okay. No, I didn't meet him.
Okay, all right.
You know,
Gary, I don't know if you know this, but Gary and I were asked several times to come in and read for some of these big parts in the new show.
For Cisco, didn't we read for Cisco?
We did, and I think even before they brought Kate Mulgrew aboard,
Uh-huh.
they had a casting change because whoever did the start of the show, I think quit or something.
She lasted a day and a half.
Wasn't that French actress?
Canadian.
Okay.
Genevieve.
Yeah, Bujold, yeah.
Right. So I guess she figured out that television was not as easy as.
Wasn't that Genevieve?
Yeah.
Joe.
So we would go in and we'd read for the captain, or I think I even read for Riker.
Wow.
And then
I think I read that somewhere.
Giving me other parts, which was great. It was great.
I do remember reading about you and reading for Riker, actually. Sorry, Strzok, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying that the two of you guys had so much chemistry, starting off on this first pilot episode of Alien Nation. I wondered if you guys had worked together, or was that just something that you built on the set together?
Wow. Now that's Eric. If you think about that, that's the highest compliment we could receive, because we just met. We just met after I got cast. You were already cast, and we had one day. You guys got into makeup. All the Tinktonese got into makeup, and we went down to downtown, walked around Olivera Street or something, and bus station, and just. I think Kenny Johnson's idea was to let the actors get an idea of how they're looked at by humans. And the surprising thing about it was we were expecting all sorts of strange reactions to these spongeheads, these Tinktonese walking around amidst. And hardly anybody gave him a second glance. This is L.A. So cheap. Some weirdos.
We got a lot of recognition that we were doing a show, but there were a couple of things. One woman told her son, I think this was a Union Station, look at that burn victim.
Yeah.
It's
so pathetic. They were feeling sorry for you. Don't stare, honey. Don't stare. They're just Tinktonese.
But it was weird because we really, felt like you stuck out. And there were times when we were shooting in downtown LA where I was approached in a weird way. One guy with a pocket knife, and he started looking at me and he started stabbing a milk carton. And the milk
was a warning.
Was leaking out. And I'm thinking that could very well be me. Some kid.
Was it soured milk though?
That's right.
Then I don't know.
You don't waste that. That was a good month.
It was a good week, right?
Yeah.
Another guy said to me directly, "You're the ugliest person I've ever seen."
Don't take it personally.
And then another guy whacked me in the head. So there were a few things that happened, but
I remember that. And I felt, even though I didn't really know you then, Eric, I felt an instant sense of protectiveness about, as my partner, hey, don't mess with this dude, huh?
Well, and that stuff plays.
Yeah,
on the road.
It does.
It really does.
I'm taking a bath here. Ready for you guys. I was moving furniture and jerking around, and it's pretty warm here.
Yeah. Everybody at home, Gary over here is in Maui, so he's
don't feel too bad for him.
Somebody's got to do it, and I stepped up. I volunteered, and okay, let it be me.
But we do want to thank you, Gary, for joining us all the way out in Maui in the middle of your vacation. Really appreciate that.
Love it. Love you guys. So I'm happy, and I love the show, and I love Eric.
Hey, Gary. I'll tell you, though, we had so much fun. We laughed it seemed like we laughed all day, every day. To me, my memory.
It's amazing we got anything filmed, wasn't
it? It was just between the laughing and the crying, it was great.
Exactly. The times, and I remember doing takes with you, Eric. And you're just a champion. You're a team player, and you don't break character no matter what. A light fixture falls, so many trips, you just continue with it. And God bless you, man. That was so great to work with and work off of, because you were just rock steady. And going into a scene, it's such a great feeling knowing that confidence that my partner, no matter what I give him. And
we'll get it
quite
back.
Often I was throwing all kinds of weird curveballs. We would ask Kenny Johnson, says, Kenny, how could the scene ended 2 minutes ago and you got the cameras rolling. What's up with that? He goes, well, you guys just come up with stuff that I don't know what you're going to do. So sometimes I keep it in the movie. It stays in the film. This shit that you guys come up with. I go, well, all right. I'm used to hearing cut. There's no cut. Just till we run out of film.
Gary,
capital S.
Gary, if I could just go back to something you said about feeling protective about Eric, because I've been doing a rewatch the last couple of days of the show, and the one thing that really struck me and I thought was so great about the writing was that Sykes was dealing with his own prejudices and trying to kind of get past them. But yet there were times when you were so protective of George just from that standpoint of he's my partner, he's the man I work with. At the same time, you were still trying to deal with who he was and getting used to working with him.
And my own innate racism, if you will.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Racism. We sort of planned that out ahead of time. I saw an arc. Should we go the whole season? Or I saw an arc in that along the way, Matt Sykes learns some lessons about
absolutely
about dealing with other species in this case, and I didn't want to jump on the good guy team right away. I wanted to drag my feet into that evolution, into that metamorphosis. So I intentionally, left the rough edges in place for as long as I could, and then slowly I would be converted.
And I found that to be the most organic thing about the story, because this isn't something where you go from episode 1 to episode 2 and you have your prejudices that you're dealing with in episode 1 and all of a sudden they're gone by episode 2 or 3. That's not really how it works. How it works is exactly what you described. And like I said, I'm already up to episode 13, where you're already kind of dealing with your feelings for Kathy as a Tanktonese woman. And it's just so beautifully done and so organic that you really feel like this is how it should be and how the story should be told.
That's sweet of you to say that. And that's what we tried to do. As subtly as possible. Nobody wants to be lectured to. Nobody wants, to be hit over the head with this is the moral of the story. Nobody wants that. But if you can just let it sort of seep into the consciousness by osmosis and appear, first time and real, that's so much better. So,
like I said, and it comes through because I've said this on my own podcast. I'll say this whenever I talk about a show. Organic is so important to me because I don't. Exactly what you said. I don't want to be preached to. If you're telling me something, if you want to give me a message, if you want to tell me something, that's fine. But it has to feel natural. Don't be sitting there pointing a finger at me.
Right. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about that. When you guys first took this job, the pilot really sets the tone for this show.
Right.
And I think that the pilot episode really jumps right into these difficult, hard-hitting issues of race and racism and feeling alienated, you start off with these racial slurs, calling people slags.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask you, is that what it interests you about doing this project right away? Is that something you said, oh wow, this is the kind of material that I think is gonna be hard hitting and really informative and open people's eyes?
For me, absolutely. And Eric, I'm sure the same. We talk a lot about this. Absolutely.
Yeah. I felt, first of all, the writing was amazing. And I'd worked with some of these people before. I also felt that, they had written George as someone who was fiercely protective of his family, but also wanted to fit in so badly. You know, he had to be liked, and so I felt like his attitude had to be as positive as I could do it, but at the same time defend those points along the way where he's furious because he's been mistreated, or he's been called a slag or whatever. So, but it was, I don't know, we somehow found a rhythm that worked with all the producers and the writers and the directors. And oftentimes it was fun because directors sometimes did not know what we were going to do.
Right.
Like if we were making up a ceremony, how do we do that? So we're imagining this on the set in real time, and that's what made it fun, so much fun, because it's not like move here, move there, move. We kind of had this feel for it, like the knowledge that Sykes would have. Like, what do you mean? It takes two men to impregnate a woman. You're going to let that happen?
She's your wife, for God's sakes.
I cherish the day. I cherish the memories. Was his response, right? So, it's like, okay, we got the Ganom and the Binom, of course.
Of course.
And not only that,
we did tango.
Yeah, and let's let Eric have the baby. Okay.
Carry the baby. I got to say, Eric, your commitment to these traditions that you guys, as you say, you pretty much got together and made them up, but you pulled it off like a long-standing tradition. That is, of course, it's like the sacraments that a Catholic church sometimes you go through, and it just, you've done this. You attended all these ceremonies of other people, and now it's your special time.
Right.
And the commitment that you had sort of sucked me right into it. And
well, it also allowed you to be a great observer.
Yes.
You
feel very uncomfortable with it, but wanting to join in and not.
If that's what you're doing, we'll go with it. But
sure.
Yeah. But that.
There's another aspect to George that I wanted to touch on, and it's actually something that Aaron Eisenberg covered in an episode of DS9. George was going through PTSD before anybody really had defined what PTSD was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There was, so many of the episodes that I like, again, back to the fact that I've just come off of rewatching them, a lot of them. But it really comes through what George had to go through and all the agony that he went through on the ship. And even though he's free in his mind, he's not completely free.
No, to be able to overcome, like the reality of in the one episode called The Game.
Mm-hmm, yep.
Okay, so they're doing a Russian roulette kind of a thing with that, and he's taken back with the memories of having his brother killed and having them, be basically prisoners aboard a slave ship. And so it definitely, it gets in there and it sits there and it's connected to his brain and his spine. So then what are you going to do when you have to try to overcome that and make a success out of a new life as a species that's brand new to Earth? It's like, it was very touching to be able to have a character that had different layers, and I think that that's what pretty much everybody had on that show, was the opportunity to have all of these other, parts to them. And that's what Ken Johnson, the creator, really, really wanted, was he wanted a very, I would say human, but he was focused so much on family that there was that whole thing going on. And then the professional life as a cop, and then bringing, Gary's character into the family all the time, which was really kind of cool. And I think Kenny was saying that it was one, I think a quick scene in the original movie, in the feature, with Mandy Patinkin and James Caan, where I think the family was waving goodbye as they went away to work, like a regular family. So he wanted to focus a lot on that
That's what convinced him to take the project on. He saw that he saw the pilot, he saw the movie that it was based upon, and said, I'm not so interested in cop car chases and whatnot. But when I saw that scene that you just described, he said, okay, now we got a guess who's come to dinner type of thing going on that really appeals to me. So he wrapped his brain around that. I think that's what that was largely the seed of success for our series, I think.
There was a lot of other stuff that they brought into it. We had female writers, and they were very adamant about writing strong female characters. So that fit in as well.
And boy, did they.
Yeah,
Terry Crews could just throw me across the room anytime. Had to go to special classes to have sex with him.
To learn how to have sex with an alien, right?
One of my favorite scenes there was when I come into the squad room and I'm like this, and you look and go, oh, Matt, did you and Kathy have sex?
Did you get
that was the movie. That was Body and Soul. That was actually one of my favorite.
Oh yeah.
You missed the lesson number 3.
Well, even in the pilot episode, Kathy's yelling for help, but then she kicked the ass of three guys that were trying to attack her.
Yeah.
Basically, I stayed with Kathy for protection.
Hey, Eric, you mentioned Kenny Johnson, the creator. I did want to ask a little bit about that. Before you started shooting even that first episode, did he kind of sit you down, or maybe the directors or other writers, and just kind of say, this is my vision, here are some helpful hints, here's what I'm looking for?
Early. Yeah, I got in on it early. I'd worked with Kenny before on a series called Hot Pursuit in 1984. So we were already good friends, and he called me and he said, I want you to do it. He didn't say which part. So I watched the show, the film. I'd seen it before. I got, let me look at it again. He goes, so I was thinking, well, do you want me to play, Gary's part?
Yeah.
This is before they brought Gary in. And he said, no, I want you to be George. And I went, let me look at it again. And I went, of course, I have to be. So what's interesting is that when you get the head on, you begin to transition into a character by studying how it works for you, how the sound comes out of that face, so that it may not be just regular Eric. There's a whole different rhythm to it. Even though it's me, it's something where, we did talk, Kenny and I talked about how to be positive, how to be loving, how to be, trusting, how, what it meant, when you would hear someone throw slag at you, and how that made you feel and how you worked from there. So we did a lot of talking about that. We even sat around, I don't know, Gary, were you in on when we had a table read? We sat around and people, this is when we were shooting the pilot, I think. Everybody got a chance to talk about if they had experienced any form of, prejudice in their life.
Right. Racial prejudice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had a pretty diverse cast, so that, we could at least talk about it, bring those things out into the open, which was really great to hear. All the different, I think Emily, Lauren, said that her experience of racism wasn't racism. It was because she was smart. So people were prejudiced against her because she was the smartest kid in the class, and they didn't like her. That sort of stuff. But
I was smart too. I was smart, and I found myself when I was third grade or fourth grade. I found myself, since my hand always went up first because I knew the answer. Simple technique my dad taught me when I was a little kid. He says, "Get your reading assignments and always read a chapter ahead. You'll be that much closer. Then when you're learning it through lecture and all that, you're familiar with this material. It's easier to learn. Pick it up. Just take a step ahead. And a little thing like that stuck with me, and I started doing that. And lo and behold, it worked. I was always a step ahead of the class, not to lord it over them or even feel special about it. It just made things easier. So I would do that, and I'd find that I got ostracized a bit because there's smart dude, yeah, nerd, exactly. I wore a nerd at 10 years old. So I felt that, and I would intentionally not raise my hand so much, and intentionally not know what the right answer was, even though I did. But everybody gets that. Everybody gets that. And slag was basically the N-word for black. That's the trigger button, and I think we all have. I think Kenny's and the writer's point was that we all have trigger buttons. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but words will never hurt me. All that kind of thing, and it was just doing this show was just a great lesson in tolerance. Things that you think about, but you never really spend day in and day out working out the story to show these morals, these great do unto others as others. Just a great edifying experience, Eric. I think I speak for you too. It was an edifying experience doing that. And in particular, do you remember when we took off and we went to New Orleans for some little bench, some special trip? I don't know why we were there, but we were walking down Bourbon Street, and because I play the human and Eric plays the guy with the head, that not everybody recognizes Eric so readily. But everybody, I mean, this thing was very popular in New Orleans. Everybody recognized me, and particularly the blacks recognized me, and they so related with the message of the show. They so related to the plight of the Tanktonese. They were all coming up and wanted to talk to me, and I'd introduce. I said, "This is George. This is it. Oh, this is George." They go all excited.
It would happen in airports, We'd
exactly.
Go to a place and people would want to go up and shake Gary's hand, and they'd go like, "Who's this guy?" And you'd have to introduce me.
And then I said, "Eric, go like this." He goes, "Oh, yeah." Okay.
I had a great experience. I was doing an off-Broadway show in New York, and this was in '99, I guess. And we had shut down the movies by, I guess, a couple years by that time. We'd finished the 5 movies, but they were still running. And so the routine was I had to get a subway and then go cross town, and and it was late, and of course after the show you'd go out and get a drink or something like that. So it's like 2 a.m. going uptown in the subway, and I got in there, and people just started staring at me, and I thought, what the hell is going on? And it was really fascinating because I was the one white person in the subway car. And they were all staring at me. And I thought, you know what? I know what this is. And this woman came up to me and she says, "You're that guy, aren't you? You're George." And I said, "Yeah, I'm George." And she said, "I told you he was George." So now we're having this great conversation with a dozen people in the subway at 2:00 a.m. And I'm going way past my stop. I was having so much fun talking with him because at that time, the show was really popular for a lot of reasons. And it spoke to what a lot of people went through. And so they were relating to it. I'm sure to this day they keep wanting to reboot it, but they never do. But it would be kind of cool if they did. I mean, Gary and I'd be like in the retirement home.
You guys would be the sergeants.
They'd bring us out because everything else failed. And so they would bring us in.
We've got walkers and canes. And
maybe Buck could have followed in his dad's footsteps. Maybe Buck would be a policeman.
Yeah, maybe.
And I could be the
Or
cat.
Emily. Could be Emily.
Sirach, you look like you were going to say something on the subject.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that I really enjoyed the relationship that they had, and I think they really addressed a lot of things right away in the beginning. For example, Eric, your character, you asked Gary's character not to address him as slag in front of everybody. Can you not do that in front of everybody? You didn't say, can you not do it at all? You actually said, can you just not do it in front of other people while we're doing our procedures? And I just thought, wow, this guy is the complexity in that. It's not like you're totally denouncing what he's doing. You're just saying, hey, can you have a little bit of respect for me, sometimes? And I thought that was kind of poignant because that's something that people really experience. The other thing I thought was poignant was when you said, there's a call for an emergency at the school, and you asked to drive over to the school, and you said, that's my daughter's there, so you made it personal, and it's like, this is my family, this is my daughter. And then Gary, your character, I thought was amazing. The speech that you gave in front of that school, I think maybe the best speeches in television. It's just so meaningful. You talked about keeping America pure, and you were being sarcastic, but you did it in this way where let's do that. Let's keep America pure. Yeah, we should all wear white pointy cheeks.
Yeah, we should put them on.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, matter of fact, why don't we just kill this person right here and there and just get it over with? And I just thought that this is the kind of conversations that, really open people's eyes to how other groups of people are being treated to this day. The working class, the throwaway class, whether it's race or economics, that causes people to be treated less than human.
Yeah. Well, Gary, I was watching that scene the other day because somebody posted it on Facebook. So I thought, fuck, I'm going to watch this thing again. It was great. And I thought, oh, yeah, I can see his Achilles tendon still blown out, right?
I just blown out my Achilles 2 days prior. 2 days. And I just put a real hard sports wrap on it with ace bandages, taped it up real good, and hobbled around in intense pain. So that was a painful experience doing that scene.
Wow.
But you could, and if they kind of cut around it, but you could see me limp.
They cut around.
It was noticeable.
Like they cut around Terry Treese's pregnancy at some point.
Yeah. She held books up.
We need more plants and trees on this to hide her.
But there was a moment in that scene, Gary, where you walk after you give your speech. You walk up to one of the black men that were in the crowd of that school, and you looked them in the eye, and you were saying something to the effect of, "You should be ashamed of yourself." Like,
aren't you?
You of all people, you've been experiencing this your whole life, and now you're going to, give this kind of energy off, that is wrong. I really like that.
That was good. That was an extra doing that. He didn't have any lines. He really felt the moment. I really liked what he did with that. There's a lot of little subtle, powerful subtleties that you can convey with just the slightest little nuance, and he nailed it. That was a great moment.
You nailed it. I thought it was awesome.
I just have to say this: the setup for that, what caught me was I think the opening line when you said, "Look, we don't even have to put gold stars on them. You can just tell who they are."
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the minute that came out, you're like, you just had to get ready for that ride because you knew where this was going.
Yeah, that's how those kinds of things can happen. Mm-hmm. Unless good people stand up and do the right thing.
Absolutely. And what's so poignant about it is that it held a mirror up to society then, and it's still doing it now, which obviously is why somebody posted it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Point. So let's talk a little bit about Star Trek. Maybe there won't be anything to talk about, but I did.
Oh, I doubt that.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever crossed paths on Star Trek, the two of you, and I did wonder because you both played several.
I saw a shuttle. I saw a shuttle go by one time, and I said, "I think that's Eric Pierpoint."
Well, you saw, one of the ship. What was the name of my ship when they got shot out from under me by?
There have been so many.
Weddington or whatever his name was, and I was on. This was Deep Space. I guess.
A little big there, Eric.
Yeah.
On Deep Space.
Space. I was Captain Sanders.
Right.
I lost my only job as a commander,
Oh man,
Damn
For
it.
the
That's a bummer.
uniform was the episode. For
Yeah,
the uniform.
But I thought that was great to be able to do that. You got a little taste of it. I did all the shows.
You've done more characters almost
Yeah.
than Bon Armstrong, haven't you?
I've
Almost
I think I
Done
did
5. Yeah.
5.
five. Gee, I've only done 2.
Yeah,
So far.
you stuck on one though.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. It was great it's great to be part of that community, you know.
Yeah, it sure is.
Always kind of fun going in to meet with the guys and actually end up on the set. And sometimes, you know, you have to ask questions like, you know, from the security guard, like, do you know what this means in the world of Star Trek?
I had to go up to Rick Berman the day of shooting the pilot for Enterprise, Star Trek Enterprise. I don't know why I put this conversation off, but it just occurred to me when I was in full costume, full makeup. I'm on the set, and we're about 15 minutes away to shoot my first scene, which is with all the characters, and I'm sort of the focus of ridicule, basically. Let's ridicule the Vulcan. And I walked up to Rick Berman. I said, you know, I've got to ask him this. I was almost near a panic because I didn't know what I was doing. I figured in the reading I'd done something, and I remember after the reading, gee, I got the part. I better try to remember what I did because I don't know who the Vulcans are. I don't really. I watched Star Trek as a kid and all that, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I'll let it out, let everybody know right now. I didn't know what I did. So I walked out and I said, Rick, he says, first he stops me and goes, wow, you look like a Vulcan. And I go, I don't know if I feel like a Vulcan. And he put his arm around me, chuckling, and we walked around the sound stage for 15 minutes. And he told me all about the Vulcans and about how far from having zero emotions, they have such volcanic emotions that they realized centuries ago that in order to not destroy each other, they have to way to sublimate it, and hold it in check. So that's when the whole Zen way of life for the Vulcans started. And I thought, oh, that's great. But now my panic, of course, is worsened because I didn't think about that. So I showed up on the set and I tried to incorporate all of that instantly, you know, within 20 seconds of preparation into my lines. So it was a wild, adventurous day for me.
You're almost afraid to even say your first line because you want to be so ready, right? And you don't want to lie. Right. You can't. You should never lie as an actor unless you're really good.
It's funny when you start in this business and you get your first job, and if it was good for picture and they heard it, you know, for sound, and you got all the lines right, and the script girl says, yeah, everything's right, and I didn't knock over the furniture or anything, then you've had it made, and never mind any kind of nuance or any kind of import to the story or whether you were any good or you sucked or whatever. It just, gee, they got everything. We can move on. That's how you are in the beginning. But, you know, where we're at, you worry about the subtlety. Am I missing this point? Am I remembering this backstory?
You can say at our age. That's all right.
Yeah, I remember understanding. Yeah.
It's been a journey. It's been a lot of years. I remember watching the original Star Trek. I didn't watch it much when it first came out, but when I was in college, my roommate was into it. We used to watch it on about a 9-inch black and white TV. And we were sitting around talking about it, and he said, wouldn't it be great to be on a show like that someday?
Wow.
And then light years later, you're there, you know?
Yeah.
And you're doing this stuff, and it's kind of a thrill. You know, it's good. It's a good life, you know? It can be a really good life. It can be also hellishly frustrating, but, you know.
You could end up in Maui.
Yeah. I have a couple of questions. One of them is that I saw that you worked with David Carson, and he directed 2 of your episodes on Alien Nation, and David Carson directed the pilot episode for DS9. Any words on working with David Carson?
just that I enjoyed it. I liked working with him. He seemed very insightful, and I don't know about you, Eric, but for me, I like a director to just imbue, to convey the sense that you're going to be okay, no matter what. I got your back.
Yeah.
I got your back. You know, we hired you for a reason, so just get out there and do what you feel, and we'll talk about it. But mainly, they'll leave you alone.
Well, in our show especially, we had a lot of room for invention. And a director, I think they were pretty much sat down and said, okay, the show's moving, the characters are full, watch them work. You know, so give them, as you say, the form. You don't want to over direct, but you have to be open to these, these experiences that we're experiencing. So that if you're sitting around, the humor at the dinner table, or the special ceremony of that's kind of like a bris, you know. But I think that the directors knew how much to be involved and when to kind of back off, you know. And my memory of David Carson was like that, you know, that he was very sensitive to what is the because if you go in and you're a hired gun and you're directing an episodic, you're walking into something that has already got a rhythm. And I would imagine that Star Trek is, and Star Trek, if we had a word or two to change on Alien Nation, we would just do it.
Yeah.
You could not do it on Star Trek. You
couldn't do that on Star Trek. In fact, almost directly after we did our last movie, I got my shot on Voyager, and as you say, I was really used to easy breezy, throw it out and we'll see if it works, and not on a Star Trek. They run a really tight ship, and nothing escapes your mouth that isn't sanctioned by the tower on high. They sit in going over every word and every pause and
every word. Yeah, wow. Every word. It was a real. I mean, it's an institution, you know. So they're
very protective of it. Now, I understand that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And if you say it perfectly, what does the script supervisor say, Sirach?
DLP, Lovey.
DOP?
Dead letter perfect. You got it right. DLP. But you guys actually worked with another. So David Carson did the pilot for Deep Space Nine, and after I finished my work on DS9, I actually did another show for Showtime called The Hoop Life.
Nice.
And the Hoop Life pilot was directed by Kevin Hooks, another director that I see you guys worked with on Alien Nation. He was the actor on White Shadow.
Right.
Yes, I remember.
I like working with Kevin. What do you?
Me too. He was a fun guy.
He was a lot of fun, as I remember.
Yeah.
And we had another director that we called Half Day Harry.
Half Day Harry, we really liked that.
I think we can guess why.
He got out of work for what, about 3:30?
Yeah, it was like what?
We would start a scene.
Like, we're done. What do you mean we're done? Don't we have like
Harry S. Longstreet is his name.
Yeah, Harry Longstreet.
That's Longstreet.
Half Day Harry, who
Half Day Harry.
Yeah, they retired. They live up in the Seattle area on one of the islands up there, and he's now a photographer. Still keep in touch with him once in a while.
God love him.
So we've got just a few minutes left. Stephanie, you look like you've got one final question you want to ask, probably back about either Enterprise or Alien Nation.
No, I think, I got to go to my Enterprise. I got to do my Enterprise stuff because it's my favorite out of all of the shows. And Gary, when we met in 2018 at STLV, I don't know if you remember, it was after the Rat Pack. And I came up to you and I told you Enterprise was my favorite. And I said, but the minute I saw Saval in Broken Bow, I knew exactly who you are. And for some reason you were surprised that I realized that you were Sykes. And I said, I knew you the minute I saw you.
I know most people are surprised when I tell them, or they see my, the table with the photos and all that. They'll look at Enterprise and then look at Alien Nation and go, "You're that guy too?"
No, for me it was like, oh my God, it's that guy.
I'm the guy that hurt my Achilles in Alienation and played Achilles in Robot Jocks.
There you go. Wow. Next one.
Whoa.
And for Eric,
Okay, for the lightning round, let's go to Ryan.
well, actually, I do have a little bit of trivia for Eric. I found out recently you and Connor Trenier were actually in the same episode of ER.
We were.
I'm sure you shot on different days. You probably didn't even notice. I just found this out. He played a paramedic in one of the opening scenes.
Huh.
And then you were the patient with the worms.
Oh,
Yes, I had a worm.
When the hemorrhoids went critical, right?
No, it was worse. He had a tapeworm.
I picked up a tapeworm as a traveling journalist or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
He's like, thanks for bringing it up.
I wasn't
No, I watched this recently. It was just the look on your face when they told you that they had to pull it out like 2 millimeters a day and you'd have to come back. That look that you was perfect. It was so perfect.
Oh God. Yeah.
Also,
that might
we
have
forgot
actually
to
been
mention Stephanie's got an enterprise podcast. You want to give us the name of that before we go?
Absolutely. It's the NX7062 podcast. I was very privileged. I had Eric on last year. And that is up on Spreaker if anybody wants to listen. We had so much fun talking Alienation and Enterprise and everything that he's doing now. Gary has a standing invitation to come on. I'm going to put you on the spot anytime you want to come on my podcast. I mean, because I know you're just so busy down in Maui.
Just surfing and snorkeling and taking in the good life.
You can also go play in the snow in Haleakala, right? Haleakala.
The snow?
Yeah, they got snow way up there at the top
I
of the
love it. I'll
mountain.
do some skiing up there.
I don't know if they have snow.
Don't do anything to your Achilles tendon.
No. I have stitches.
But we are just about out of time. Really, Gary, thanks so much for calling in from Maui. Eric,
You're welcome.
we also really appreciate you jumping in. We've never met you before, Sirach and I, so it's been an absolute
Real
pleasure.
pleasure.
Thank you so much for doing this on short notice.
Me,
It's been great.
Yeah.
Stephanie, thanks for making it look like everybody knows everything in the whole world about Enterprise and Alienation.
Thank you
like
so
an
much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for not asking
Thank
too
you, Stephanie.
specific questions.
I'll do robot checks next time.
In
Robot
episode 33,
well, mahalo, everyone, and aloha.
Mahalo.
Aloha.
And live long and prosper.
There you go.
Yes,
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
And we got it.
Oh, there it is.
beautiful.
All right.
Thanks very much. Check us out next time on Virtual TrekCon, everybody. We'll see you on the next video, and have a great day.